Summarizing my conversation as far as the long-term stuff. The biggest piece is that if I take you back to the first tab, this is how much was left on the table as far as what the board did not tax for, 1.3 million. Next year, if we do just a 2% increase to Fund 10, it's a 9, you're still leaving approximately $900,000 on the table untaxed for. You flip that around, and in a couple of years where I showed you the shift in fund balance, going underneath at 30% and then eventually dissipating because of the lower tax rates. Declining state aid, we're probably about 2 or 3 years away to give Paul a concrete answer as to when we're going to have to really, really focus and talk deeply about that.
Well, if we continue to have dropping enrollments, then we're going to have to start looking at more
dropping revenues and expenses.
Well, some drastic things could be mothballing a building.
Well, that's one big thing, and I brought that up before.
Yep.
So at what point do you say move everybody into Trailside Woodfield and mothball everything?
Right.
I don't think we're nearly close to that yet.
Well, the interesting part is that, following up on your question, if you steer all the way back up here at the enrollment part, I should point out in the finance part too, I took into consideration staffing decreases. For example, next year I'm forecasting a decrease of 2, just because of the way enrollments are shifted. And then for the next 5 years, a decrease of at least 1, as those smaller classes trickle their way up into the system. So what I'm saying is that part's already taken into consideration. But seriously, board members, if you take a look here, 1606 to around 1300. And Dan says this might be a little bit over-exaggerated based on what you're experiencing in the neighborhood and stuff. That's 300 kids is a lot.
That's right.
I think you're no worse than Sally Joe's original estimate of 2% increase forever. I mean, you can't really guess.
Right.
Empirical data is obviously better. I foresee us stabilizing at some point.
And I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
I really do.
And we talked about models, like birth rates and things like that. And, certainly.
And I took your suggestion as far as the swing in birth rates. I took that into consideration. But the thing is when we're still graduating 190, 200 kids out of here,
For the next
we're still never going to recoup 200 kids in kindergarten that quickly. It just...
No, but you'll go back up. I mean, if you look at the high school's data over a period of 20 years, they were way down, then they were up, and they're way down, and they're back up a little bit again.
The other part that this district, and I think maybe the high school would point this out in some of that summative data that he puts together. We're not picking up as many kids through the whole K-8 experience as we used to. What I mean by that is our kindergarten numbers would start relatively low, but as that class traveled throughout our system over time, we were picking up 20, 40 kids in total by the time they left us. Does that make sense to you? So for example, we started at 150 kindergartners. By the time they left us in 8th grade, they were at 190, 180. We're not necessarily experiencing
I think you have to look at that, so that a lot of that had to do with St. Thomas. A lot of kids have shifted from St. Thomas over to Waterbury.
Yeah, and a lot of that influx typically happens at Fox River. So.
Hopefully, as we go through the years, we'll have more transfers in.
Right.
Okay.
So you will send this to us, or you will not send this to us?
I didn't prepare any sheets ahead of time because I didn't know what specific information you wanted. If you want, I can just put together a summative report. I wanted to show you a variety of different tabs here, just so you have a sense of aid, a sense of...
I have an Excel.
Okay. So,
I don't know.
Just send me
enrollments, that type of thing.
I commend you for putting it together, but there's a lot of hypotheticals right now.
Sure.
There is.
And we're hoping that we we slide to the better side of life.
Right.
I guess the short term is that we have, a couple of years that we could deficit spend if we needed to, if we
Right.
wanted to. And that was the emphasis I was looking at is our fund balance is pretty good right now, and the intent is not to totally deplete the fund balance, but look at what guidelines there are, and you've chosen the guidelines that you have there. And so this looks like good information. We're not going to bankrupt the school district this year or next year or the following year.
Right.
But
But
after that,
3, 4, yeah,
we
yes,
have to be a little careful.
We have to sit down and take a long, hard look.
right. And I guess, something you don't have to answer this tonight, but, something you need to be thinking about. As hard as it is to increase taxes, do you need to do it more incrementally? Rather than hit people with an 8% increase all of a sudden because you really need
Well,
it.
hopefully the property values will start to climb again. And
Right.
at that point, it always bothers me that we are increasing the percentage that we tax at, as opposed to having the tax rate, the tax influx increase because the property values go up.
Right.
So hopefully we will not see as much of a decline, and we'll see some increase in the property values themselves.
Right. And Dan's point is very valid. There's a lot of variables that I don't know the answer to. What's the legislature going to do about school aid? Your property value piece, that's huge, very significant. And then the enrollment piece. But for where we are right now in December of 2013, 3 years from now, we're going to have
I don't have a
something.
crystal ball to tell.
Yeah. All right?
I'd like to see a printout.
Okay. Sure.
I just said it.
Yeah, it was,
Electronic version would be great.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so Joe predicted increase every year, and then all of a sudden the economy tanked, and we,
No, based on the previous numbers that she went off of, she was correct.
exactly.
But things changed. So she didn't predict the downturn in 2008, and she could have felt something.
Glad we didn't build another building.
Well, my question on this is going to be is how much our debt service is trailing off on there. If you put that in conjunction with it, are we going to hit a sweet spot where we have very little debt service left, therefore our taxation level's gone up significantly, and maybe we could look at somehow supplement. I mean, we can go to referendum and supplement to boost up our fund service and then trickle it down again. It's always a possibility.
Debt service, is it eliminated in 1920 or 1819? You're not sure?
I think it's 2019.
About 5-6 years.
I think we have about 5 years left.
Yeah, so we're getting to the point where we have no debt, we have fairly new buildings, as long as we maintain them, in their good working order, we shouldn't have an issue, we should be able to work our way around it, maybe can't really refi, because there was no any debt on it, but we could go to referendum to push money into the fund balance and then trickle down to that,
You have lots of options. The piece I would keep in front of you, though, is you look at the program demands at Fox River, and that facility really isn't capable of handling.
It's kind of got,
And I'm talking about the arts, I'm talking about the use of the gym, the athletic stuff,
needs to be a little updated.
even some of the electrical and some of the plumbing. It's 40, 50 years old.
Then we are graduating 2 big classes, I think, coming up here, right?
Yep,
And then we skirt down quite a bit.
right. Well, we're probably about 3-4 years out from that.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you look at the end of the spreadsheet there, where we really took hit in state aid, that's where that 3-year average finally catches up. And what I'm saying is you've got 3 consecutive years then of lower numbers.
You could even look at, worst case scenario, instead of mothballing this building, using part of this building,
Right?
because they are close enough, to have like a campus.
Yeah, but the problem with this building is it's built so poorly, we all know that, there's much money. I mean, it might get to the point where you're better off building a couple additions onto Woodfield Trail side, closing this building, and adding on to the middle school, and having 3 schools and so forth.
I think we're years off from that right now.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of that. All right,
And
anything
again,
else?
building, subdivisions could come back in and
Yep.
Oh,